Welcome to this week's OK at Work with myself, Sarah Sawyer, my colleague Russell Berger, both attorneys at Offit Kurman. And today we are talking about starting off with employees. So Russell, if someone hired employees for the first time, you got a brand new business, a brand new set of employees, you're an employer now, what would you tell them is the number one thing they should think about from a legal perspective day one?
Yeah, well, first we have to acknowledge that this is our 138th episode spectacular. And for those who know and get it, you're welcome. But to answer your question and to make it probably a little bit even broader, no matter where you are, I think one of the things you should frequently ask yourself as an employer is, am I paying people correctly? Because on the front end, if you're not paying people correctly, then you're going to run into issues with people staying. And you're going to have retention issues, you're going to have problems, and on that end of things, but you're also going to run into compliance issues, whether that's, am I paying people timely? Am I paying people adequately from a market perspective? Am I paying the minimum wage? Am I paying overtime? Is this person properly exempt? Am I skirting, wage rules and employment rules because I'm classifying this person as an independent contractor? I mean, just the basics of wage compliance, I think, are a really important place for a new employer to start and for existing employers to periodically audit, because some of these rules change, new cases come out, and frankly, people's positions change, their jobs change, your commission plans may change. So it's just really important to, periodically revisit the question of compensation. So same question back to you, Sarah.
Yeah, so I'd say, that's a great one, because obviously people really, they don't work for free generally, and we have laws that generally enforce that, right? I think also the handbook policies, right? So many people, when they first get started with their business, they don't put a good handbook in place that's actually compliant or that actually reflects their policies. And that can really come back to bite you. A lot of times they'll say, hey, I'm going to get this from online, or I'm going to get a handbook from my friend Joe, who's always owned a business, and I'll just use his and make a couple of tweaks to it. And the truth of the matter is that really often is insufficient. While it might contain some language in it that looks official and looks like something that makes sense, often it might be locking you into certain things within the policies that you actually aren't doing. It could also be confusing to employees. It could also be too broad to actually be practical or applicable to employees. And it might just be missing things. Things change, and we generally recommend people to take a look at their handbooks and new policies, annually, just to see, not necessarily a redo of their whole handbook, but just making sure there hasn't been new laws that need to be put in, and, new policies and things like that. So that one, I think, is one as well that gets people a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think both the topics we mentioned can be part of kind of like the annual employer checkup, right? They come in, do you need to update policies? Do your policies match what you're doing? Are you paying people properly? Okay, clean bill of health, and we'll see you again next year.
Yeah, no, important things, especially as you grow, because things will change, and like you said, people's positions will change. Your strategy around how you employ people will change. So good to start thinking about these things from the beginning and along the way. So, well, thank you, Russell, and happy 138th episode spectacular.
Thanks, Sarah. See you next time.
See ya.